Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Godly king level exotic beasts are generally kept in captivity. They hardly ever appear in the outside world. Should one appear, the group of godly kings would quickly capture it and take it away. Luo Feng was well aware of this. Exotic beasts pose a significant threat to weaker true gods. But for truly powerful beings, they are merely living cultivation resources. Exotic beasts have low intelligence, yet the top among them possess the strength of a godly king level just through their heritage. Luo Feng was also somewhat astonished. Why is their lineage so powerful? According to the intelligence he understood, every godly king level exotic beast was a treasure of heaven and earth, reared by truly powerful forces. The essence of those godly king-level exotic beasts' lineage was a treasure unattainable even by the third-generation grandmasters and his mentor, mountain sitting guest. For the weak, the exotic beasts scattered throughout the land of origin pose a threat, thought Luo Feng, but once one's strength reaches a certain level, these beasts become mere prey. These exotic beasts have lower intelligence, and the real threats in the land of origin to me are those cultivators of the myriad clans. Luo Feng was well aware of this point. The geniuses who roamed through samsara from generation to generation in the 3,000 primordial cosmoses. The massive number of creatures native to the land of origin plus a large number of creatures from smaller cosmoses. Among the vast number of creatures, naturally, many elites also emerged. After enduring endlessly long years, amongst the cultivators of the myriad clans, hidden dragons and crouching tigers abounded. Like the Du and Dong River, such factions are among the weaker in the entire land of origin. His mentor, mountain sitting guest, also belonged to the weaker ranks among the godly kings. Even the Qianmu kingdom, which controls the pinnacle sector beast, still doesn't rank as the most terrifying force in the land of origin. To me right now, what is needed is to lie low carefully, making myself increasingly powerful. Only then will I be eligible to uncover more secrets of the land of origin. Luo Feng was very clear about this, and even the vengeance of his mentor, mountain sitting guest, can now be set aside. Without being a godly king, one simply isn't qualified to get involved. Asterisk 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 asterisk. There are myriad smaller universes surrounding the primordial cosmos, the largest of which is indisputably Luo Feng's own smaller cosmos, spanning 100 billion light-years in diameter. Luo Feng's smaller cosmos was absorbing the primal chaos current at its maximum efficiency, transforming it into divine power to nourish Luo Feng's true god's heart, allowing Luo Feng's godly body to grow. Luo Feng had been an eternal true god for far too short a time, and his godly physique hadn't yet reached its ultimate state. Inside Luo Feng's smaller universe, under a large tree, Luo Feng and primordial ancestor sat opposite each other, drinking fruit wine. Both of them were just divine power incarnations. Only when you told me did I learn that the other end of the samsara channel turned out to be the land of origin, primordial ancestor remarked. They had both traversed samsara, and thus discussing the land of origin was no longer restricted by the supreme rules. Primordial ancestor, do you know which kingdom you are in now in the land of origin? Luo Feng asked. Primordial ancestor replied. After I arrived in the land of origin, I encountered a tribe, which has tens of thousands of creatures. Almost all adults in this tribe are true gods, with only one true god of void space. They were very friendly to me. I found out that the place I was in is within the territory of the Flame Wind Ancient Country. See a thnovelfire.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Flame Wind Ancient Country. Luo Feng was slightly taken aback. How is the Flame Wind Ancient Country? Asked primordial ancestor. In the land of origin, any place named a country has been established by a godly king, explained Luo Feng. Among them, only two are called ancient countries. One is the Flame Wind Ancient Country, and the other is the Thunder Ancient Country. These two ancient countries have the most long-standing history and the deepest heritage. They are recognized as the strongest two kingdoms. No one, not even his mentor mountain sitting guest, knows when these two great kingdoms were established, with no records available, many mysteries unknown. Apart from the manifold divine kingdoms visible on the surface, including a few secret forces, some secretive existences mentioned in the intelligence left behind by the mental mountain sitting guest and the Duandong River, such as an entity named Yuan, who had completely escaped the braided cage. The Lai Yuan technique is indeed derived from Yuan. Because of escaping the braided cage, Yuan is also greatly revered by those ancient beings. His mental mountain sitting guest suspects that among the two ancient countries, there might also be beings who have escaped the braided cage. Besides the visible divine kingdoms, there are also some very powerful forces in the shadows, Luo Feng said. In any case, in the land of origin, one must be cautious. I know, Luo Feng. Where are you now? Asked the primordial ancestor. I am in Yu Kingdom, a second-tier nation, Luo Feng said. We are too far apart, and it's not feasible to meet up for now. Moreover, without having reached the primal chaos dominator level, it's not suitable to travel across half the land of origin to meet up. Traversing half the land of origin, for an eternal true god, was akin to surviving 9 deaths and enduring a single life. The primordial ancestor nodded. Primordial ancestor, have you obtained an inheritance that leads to becoming an eternal true god? Luo Feng asked. No, the primordial ancestor shook his head and sighed. After enduring hardships to reach the land of origin, I know nothing about this place, and I have no inheritance either. Everything must be accumulated slowly. Luo Feng nodded. It indeed wasn't easy for the strong beings who broke through samsara to arrive at the land of origin. Most had no information or inheritance. He was somewhat more fortunate himself. After surviving 9 deaths, passing the trials of the Duandong River lineage, and the test of his master, the mountain-sitting guest, he was able to acquire the inheritances of 2 major factions. I have an inheritance here. Luo Feng took out a memory stone he had prepared beforehand. The core inheritance of the Duandong River lineage was forbidden to be passed on. Non-core inheritances were relatively common, and not quite suitable for the primordial ancestor. The inheritances from the world of Jin lineage, where the most core 9 were forbidden to be passed on, the rest had no restrictions. But to transfer it to the primordial ancestor, Luo Feng himself had to learn it first to infuse it into the memory stone. This inheritance is called the 9 Netherworlds. Luo Feng handed over the memory stone to the primordial ancestor, but I've only realized the first half, and the memory stone also contains only the first half, which can be cultivated to the level of an eternal true god at highest. An inheritance leading to eternal true god. The primordial ancestor's eyes lit up. Thank you. The primordial ancestor, quite excited, took the memory stone and immediately began receiving the information. Moments later, he opened his eyes and nodded, saying, Luo Feng, this 9 Netherworlds is very suitable for me. If it suits you, that's great, Luo Feng smiled. During the over a month in the Samsara channel, Luo Feng reviewed many inheritances from 2 lineages. He felt that 9 Netherworlds was the most suitable for the primordial ancestor, so he took the effort to understand the relatively easier first half. Luo Feng, I won't say too many thanks. The primordial ancestor was quite moved internally. This inheritance was too precious for him. Having cultivated for nearly a reincarnation era, the primordial ancestor understood all too well how difficult it was to ascend from a true god of void space to an eternal true god. Even the creatures of the land of origin, who could rely on bloodline cultivation, or resources such as exotic beast materials for cultivation, the ones who could become eternal true gods were 1 in a billion. What I can do is just so much. In the flame-wind ancient country, everything depends on you. Luo Feng looked at the primordial ancestor too, the human race from the hometown reaching the land of origin. Only the 2 of them were there. You must be careful in Yu Kingdom too, the primordial ancestor said as well. The 2 exchanged smiles. At this moment, their true bodies were separated by half the land of origin, unable to meet up, and could only struggle on their own. The earth was vast and wild, with exotic beasts roaring and birds chirping, waves of disturbances spreading out, containing various destructive powers. One could inadvertently lose their life if caught in the disturbances. Even true gods had to tread carefully in the wilderness, fearing they might provoke some terrifying exotic beasts. Swoosh! A wave of spatial disturbance swept across the sky, coming from Luo Feng, his servant Morosa, and Mo Yu Hu. They traverse the void space, charging headlong toward Jiu City. There's an eternal true God. It's an eternal true God. From afar, the previously roaring exotic beasts were frightened into diving underwater, while large flocks of flying exotic beasts also kept their distance. Wherever the spatial disturbance passed, there was silence. No exotic beast dared to make a sound. All the exotic beasts have gone quiet. A team of true gods observed the distant wave of spatial disturbance with envy and admiration. To be so bold in the wilderness, it must be an eternal true God. If I could become an eternal true God in this lifetime, a team member reflected. Chan Muhe, you sure dare to dream. My wish is much smaller. Just to be able to settle in Jiu City would satisfy me. Jiu City. That's a large city. Living there for one era requires a piece of primal chaos crystal. Can you afford that? The group of true gods exchanged a few words before continuing on their journey. Luo Feng and his party traversed at high speed. Is this the way an eternal true god travels? Mo Yu, who was thrilled by the experience. In the past, when I left the city, I was always careful, concealing all my presence. This type of unrestrained, exhilarating flight is truly satisfying. Luo Feng and Morosa observed the land of origin. Previously, their knowledge had been based on intelligence, but now they were seeing things for themselves, towering billions of miles high, rivers that stretched endlessly, deep and unfathomable lakes, and various kinds of magical exotic beasts. Both Luo Feng and Morosa found everything novel. The exotic beasts had keen senses. Sensing the disturbances from afar, they hid. They are indeed sharp. Luo Feng did not bother to hunt these weaker exotic beasts. Firstly, each beast had its unique talents, making them hard to capture. Secondly, the weaker exotic beasts were too low in value to bother with. Supreme, ahead is the lair of an eternal true god-level exotic beast, Mo Yu, who pointed toward the distant area. That beast is known as the horned serpent, which is proficient in burrowing. The armies of Jiu City have tried to encircle and capture it several times without success. Horned serpent. Luo Feng was intrigued. Exotic beasts at the eternal true god level were highly valuable. Having arrived at the land of origin penniless, and not wanting to sell the rare treasures he carried, he naturally had to find a way to earn resources. Just maintain the true god of void space aura, and don't scare off the horned serpent, Luo Feng telepathically communicated. Yes, Master, Morosa, as a perfect divine body, maintained his disguise flawlessly. Ever since arriving at the land of origin, he had maintained the aura of the true god of void space. As a sector beast, discretion was mandatory upon his arrival at the land of origin. He just needed enough time and energy to eventually reach his pinnacle. However, Luo Feng needed sufficient trials to grow. Luo Feng, Morosa, and Mo Yu, who slowed down their flight, started concealing their aura fluctuations, and approached the area near the horned serpent's lair. Deep in the distant mountains, a tremendous golden eye glanced at Luo Feng and his companions. Instantly Luo Feng felt a colossal increase in spatial pressure, distorting space itself. Surrounding rocks and vegetation silently turned to dust. Luo Feng naturally used his divine power to resist this terrifying pressure, also protecting his companions. Eternal true God, what are you here for? The massive horned serpent looked toward Luo Feng from deep within the mountains, visibly wary, and transmitted its thoughts from afar. Phew! Luo Feng ignored it and headed even faster toward the mountain. Dare to follow me and see, transmitted the massive horned serpent, then vanished into thin air. Luo Feng stopped, sensing that the horned serpent's aura had burrowed deep into the earth and was still escaping deeper. Earth escape. Luo Feng frowned. The elements of time, space, and matter in the land of origin are incredibly stable. Even I find it troublesome to burrow through the earth. But that horned serpent vanished in an instant. It must possess a source of law related to the earth. Master, shall we continue to chase? Morosa asked. No use chasing. Luo Feng shook his head. He possessed the source of life and death, and Morosa specialized in the path of destruction. Both were more adept at direct combat, making them average in Earth escape abilities. These exotic beasts really are incredible. Though they have low intelligence, they naturally possess a source of laws through their bloodlines. Even the top exotic beasts can attain godly king-level strength through their bloodlines alone. Luo Feng marveled internally. "Master, that horned serpent really is cowardly," Morosa remarked. "It is quite timid," Luo Feng laughed lightly, detecting it from afar and immediately escaping deep into the earth. "Can't blame them," Luo Feng commented. "These eternal true god-level exotic beasts rely on their bloodline talents for such strength, while myriad clans cultivators master secret techniques and use powerful weapons. They even comprehend the essence of laws. At the same level, eternal true god-level exotic beasts generally cannot defeat eternal true gods. Therefore, very few dare to confront an eternal true god head-on. But once they dare to confront directly, they are not ordinary eternal true god-level exotic beasts," Luo Feng added. "Amongst eternal true god-level exotic beasts, occasionally there are some extremely powerful ones. In their same class, the exceptionally strong exotic beasts generally have more special bloodlines and higher value. Possibly one might be worth as much as a dozen or more ordinary ones." Luo Feng still anticipated encountering such exotic beasts. Hunting eternal true god-level exotic beasts truly is difficult. Luo Feng shook his head, not wanting to waste more time. "Let's continue on our way." The places where eternal true god-level exotic beasts lived were typically suited to their bloodline talents, making them especially good at escaping. Sigh. Luo Feng and his two companions continued their journey toward Huyang City. Deep in the mountains, two teams of true gods of void space were locked in battle. "We are Team B from 9 Banquet Tower of Huyang City. We are only here to collect ingredients. Please show some mercy," a rock creature pleaded, struggling to defend himself. His team originally had over 100 members. Now, only 3 true gods of void space remained, desperately holding their ground. They had not anticipated that a relatively safe task like gathering ingredients could be so dangerous. The 10 shadows encircling them were relentless, coordinating with each other, aiming to annihilate them swiftly. "We have no grudges, yet you strike with such severity. We must drag one of you down with us if we die. Let's fight." The other 2 members of the True Gods of Void Space had already gone mad. One of them unfolded golden wings, and a terrifying surge of power erupted. "Your speed is too slow," a deep voice sounded. Though the 3 members of Team B from 9 Banquet Tower were initially frenzied, upon hearing this deep voice, they fell silent without uttering a sound. Their bodies naturally disintegrated, souls included, dying instantly. Only their weapons remained. "Army Commander, it's our fault," the 10 Grey Shadows respectfully said. "Continue. Kill all creatures that appear in this area," the deep voice ordered. "Army Commander," the leading shadow couldn't help but speak, "we are ordered to reach Huyang City by a set deadline. Today is the last day. Do your job," the deep voice responded. "Yes." The leading shadow dared not speak further. The 10 shadows silently continued to guard the vast area, slaying any passing creature without exception. This vast area actually concealed a terrifying power that obscured its core region. Within the core region, a green plant was growing, topped with a crystalline blue-purple flower. The fragrance of the flower spread, causing the surrounding natural energy to become chaotic. Next to this plant, a black-robed figure sat, guarding it. "I never expected that upon leaving Shi Kingdom, and taking up my post in Yu Kingdom at Huyang City, I would encounter a mature blue-purple blood crystal flower on the way. When this flower is immature, it appears ordinary and unremarkable. But once it blossoms, its fragrance affects the soul and becomes exceedingly conspicuous. It blooms for about 10 days until it naturally falls off, then it can be used in medicine," the black-robed figure said with fervent eyes. "I heard that the blue-purple blood crystal flower can only be nurtured where a godly king has fought and bled. This flower alone is worth at least 100,000 cosmic sands. All the weapon treasures I have cultivated up to now add up to only about 20,000 cosmic sands," the black-robed figure said with passionate eyes. "If any eternal true god discovers this, they would definitely fight me for it. Even after it's exposed, the forces from Huyang might come here to kill. Only a few days are left until it drops naturally. The black-robed figure patiently waited. He allowed no news of this place to leak out. Although he had done his best to conceal it, he feared any passing creature might notice, so he killed anyone who passed by. Suddenly, the black-robed figure slightly furrowed his brow and took out his transmission token. "What's the matter?" the black-robed figure asked. See a novel, f.ia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. "Hey Duomo, why haven't you arrived at Huyang yet?" A voice as resolute as a mountain came through. "According to the Marquis's order, today is the last day. You must reach Huyang City. There has been a delay. Please forgive me, Chairman Zhong Yun," the black-robed figure said lightly with a chuckle. "There shouldn't be anything urgent in Huyang City that requires my immediate attention, right? Huyang City is, after all, Yu Kingdom's Huyang, and our branch in Sha Kingdom has always been short of eternal true gods." The resolute voice softened. "I won't report your delay, but you should still reach Huyang as soon as possible." "Rest assured, I will arrive within 10 days, the black-robed figure responded. Soon, the transmission ended. The black-robed figure smiled and put away the transmission token. The so-called military order didn't bind an eternal true god very tightly. They were already core members, and minor issues were typically not pursued too strictly. Right now, nothing is more important than this blue-purple blood crystal flower. The black-robed figure observed the fully blooming and fragrant blue-purple flower, his eyes filled with obsession. Luo Feng, accompanied by Morosa and Mo Yu Hu, was traversing the void, flying straight to Huyang City. Luo Feng suddenly looked toward a direction, seeing a distant range of mountains where a terrifying force was hidden, with a hint of blue-purple barely visible. Could there be a rare treasure? Luo Feng thought to himself. There are significant differences among eternal true gods. Their godly bodies vary in size, the purity of their divine power differs, the sources of law they master are distinct, and the secret techniques they practice, and weapons secret treasures they possess all affect an eternal true god's strength. As someone with a perfect divine body, stronger than unlimited godly bodies, Luo Feng would reveal a vast and immense true form. Naturally, his sensory range was far beyond that of an ordinary eternal true god. His sensory range and sensitivity were astonishing. His perception and control of aura could even reach perfect levels. Even some ancient beings might need to utilize causality and space-time methods just to glimpse some truths about Luo Feng. There must be an eternal true god hidden there, masking the aura of the treasure. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. Heavenly treasures, born from the earth, belong to no one. He who is capable shall possess them. While thinking, Luo Feng tactfully received Mo Yu Hu into the Star Tower. This video will end here.